Welcome back to A Book a Day podcast. In the previous episode, I was narrating some parts from the book called A Book of Simple Living written by Ruskin Bond. And I'm going to continue doing the same. Today, I will pick the part 2 of this book and I'll narrate some beautiful passage from it. I hope you will enjoy this and feel connected to the nature. So, without any delay, let me start narrating some passages from the part 2 of this book. Here we go. Live close to nature, and your spirit will not be easily broken, for you learn something of patience and resilience. You will not grow restless, and you will never feel lonely. My relationship with the natural world has sustained and inspired me over the years. It is a relationship that has grown stronger and more meaningful ever since I came to live in the hills half a century ago. Is nature your religion? Someone asked me recently. It would be presumptuous to say so. Nature does not promise you anything. An afterlife, rewards for good behavior, protection from enemies, wealth, happiness, progeny, all the things that humans desire and pray for. No, nature does not promise these things. Nature is a reward in itself. It is there to be appreciated, to be understood, to be lived and loved. And in its way, it gives us everything: the bounty and goodness of the earth, the sea, the sky, food, water, the air we breathe, all the things we take for granted. And sometimes, when we take it too much for granted or misuse its generosity, nature turns against us and unleashes forces that overwhelm us: earthquake, tidal wave, typhoon, flood, drought. But then it settles down again and resumes its generous ways. For it is all about renewal, seasons and the weather, sunlight and darkness, the urgency of growth, the fertility of the seed and the egg. Governments rise and fall, machines rust away, great buildings crumble, but mountains still stand, rivers flow to the sea, and the earth is clothed with grass and verdure. September 1994. Mussoorie had been under curfew for days. People had lost their lives at a rally for separate state of Uttarakhand. The children's park on the mall wore the look of a battlefield, and the fountain, dry for months, was splashed with blood. Violence of this nature was not something we had expected in our hill station. Our world had changed. After this tragedy, perhaps it would never be the same again. But there are compensations even during a curfew. Confined to the house, we must finally spend more time with our children, try to reassure them that the world is not such a bad place after all. Forage for food and make do with less of everything. Be friendlier with previously unsympathetic neighbors, because for once we are sharing the same hardships, the same uncertainty. Since I lived outside the main bazaar and the hillside was just above me, I could safely defy the curfew and scrambled up the slopes to discover anew the rich September flora. The wild ginger was in flower. So was agrimony, ladies' lace, wild geranium. The ferns were turning yellow. The fruit of the snake lily had turned red, signifying an end to the rains. A thrush whistled on the branch of a dead walnut tree. A tiny swarm of butterflies rose from behind a lime green bush. When all the wars are done, a butterfly will still be beautiful. Wars and upheavals destroy lives, but it is always worth remembering that life and humanity are bigger than them. We hear of heroic stands and superhuman perseverance, but fortitude and resilience are usually found in mundane things and are easily missed. It was in Jersey, in UK's Channel Islands, that I first realized this. I was there for a year in the early 1950s. It was a quiet and a very law abiding island. Even through the German occupation during the World War II, the islanders had gone about their business, mostly fishing and growing tomatoes, without paying much heed to the occupying power. And when the war ended in Europe, the Germans simply melted away and the islanders carried on growing their tomatoes. It was as though nothing had happened. The smallest insect in the world is a sort of firefly, and its body is only a fifth of a millimeter long. One can only just see it with the naked eye, almost like a speck of dust. Yet it has perfect little wings and little combs on its legs for preening itself. That is perfection. Walking along the beach as a little boy in Jamnagar collecting seashells, I got into the habit of staring hard at the ground, a habit which has stayed with me all my life. Apart from helping my thought processes, it also results in my picking up odd objects: coins, keys, broken bangles, marbles, pens, bits of crockery, pretty stones, ladybirds, feathers, snail shells. I use them to decorate my room, to make it more like the outdoors, full of little surprises. Occasionally, of course, this habit results in my walking some way past my destination. And why not? It simply means discovering a new and different destination, sights and sounds that I might not have experienced had I ended my walk exactly where I was supposed to end. But I am not looking at the ground all the time. Sensitive like the snake to approaching footfalls, I look up from time to time, examine the faces of passerby, just in case they have something they wish to say to me. A bird singing in a bush or tree has my immediate attention. So does any unfamiliar flower or plant, particularly if it grows in any unusual place, such as a crack in a wall or a chimney or in a yard full of junk, where I once found a rose bush blooming on the roof of an old Ford car. Slow down and listen. There are sounds that are good to hear. At night, rain drumming on the corrugated tin roof. It helps one to lie awake. At the same time, it doesn't keep one from sleeping. And it is a good sound to read by, the rain outside, the quiet within. And early in the morning, when the rain has stopped, there are other sounds. A crow shaking the raindrops from its feathers and cawing rather disconsolately, but not sadly. Babblers and bulbuls bustling in and out of bushes in long grass in search of worms and insects. The sweet ascending trill of the Himalayan whistling thrush. Dogs rushing through damp undergrowth. Some of the best sounds are made by water, the water of a mountain stream, always in a hurry, bubbling over rocks and chattering, I'm late, I'm late, like the white rabbit tumbling over itself in its anxiety to reach the bottom of the hill. The sound of the sea, especially when it is far away, or when you hear it by putting a seashell to your ear, or the sound of a child drinking thirstily, the water running down her chin and throat. Bullock cart wheels creaking over rough country roads, the clip-clop of a tonga and the tinkle of its bell. Bells in the hills, a school bell ringing, a children's voice drifting through an open window, a temple bell heard faintly from across the valley, heavy silver ankle bells on the feet of a sturdy hill women, sheep bells heard high up on the mountainside, the sweet and solitary music of a flute at dusk, a faraway voice on the short wave radio, rising and fading through static. The rich and famous have bought houses in this quiet part of our hill station. They come here for short visits and their big cars take over the winding roads. Sometimes they invite their friends from the city and have jolly parties. The wind carries the muted sound of conversation, and the hillside rings with laughter. From a distance, these are good sounds on a cold and silent night. Theirs is not a party I would join, but the thought of happy people in the neighborhood puts me in a good mood. I am not by nature a gregarious person. Although I love people and have often made friends with complete strangers, I'm also a lover of solitude. Naturally, one thinks better when one is alone. I prefer walking alone to walking with others. That ladybird on the wild rose would escape my attention if I was engaged in a lively conversation with a companion. Not that the ladybird is going to change my life, but by acknowledging its presence, stopping to admire its beauty, I have paid obeisance to the natural scheme of things of which I am only a small part. It is upon a person's power of holding fast to such undimmed beauty that his or her inner hopefulness depends. As we journey through the world, we will inevitably encounter meanness and selfishness. And as we fight for our survival, the higher visions and ideals often fade. It is then that we need ladybirds. Contemplating that tiny creature or the flower on which it rests gives one the hope, the certainty that there is more to life than interest rates, dividends, market forces, and infinite technology. There is space for the big and the small, for you and me and the ladybird. So, with that thought, I'll take your leave and I'll continue narrating some passages from this book in the next episode as well. Thank you very much for listening. I'll catch you the next time. Thank you.